Step back into a 1970s American kitchen, where avocado green appliances hum softly, vinyl chairs squeak, and the scent of supper fills every corner of the house. Dinner wasn't just a meal, it was a moment. Families gathered around formica tables, swapping stories while something hearty simmered on the stove. From one end of the country to the other, kitchens buzzed with comfort and creativity, born not from luxury, but from love. This was the golden age of casseroles and canned convenience. Housewives clipped recipes from magazines, neighbors swapped index cards, and every pantry held a box of instant mix ready to turn into magic. Whether it was hamburger helper after a long workday or a glistening pot roast for Sunday dinner, food was how families stayed close in a fast-changing world. But behind every dish was a story of tradition, adaptation, and nostalgia. Recipes like chicken a la king, quiche Lorraine, or Swiss steak carried whispers of older generations, reimagined for a new era of quick meals and family time. They were symbols of pride, of homemakers turning simple ingredients into something that felt special. Today, these dishes are vanishing, replaced by takeout and microwave meals. Yet for those who remember, their taste brings back the sound of laughter, the warmth of togetherness, and the rhythm of a simpler life. So, let's dust off those old cookbooks, peek into the kitchens of the past, and rediscover the meals that once defined the American table. Welcome to America's Lost Recipes, where every dish has a story worth remembering. Hamburger helper. Step into a 1970s kitchen where the smell of browning ground beef mingled with the tang of a cheesy orange sauce. Hamburger helper wasn't just dinner. It was a quiet revolution for busy families. Introduced in 1971 by General Mills, it promised a hot meal in under 30 minutes, with minimal effort and maximum comfort. For working parents, it was a lifesaver. For kids, it was a flavor-packed adventure that could turn a rushed weeknight into something memorable. The magic started with a simple box. Inside, pasta, powdered sauce mix, and a promise of convenience. Add ground beef, a splash of milk, and suddenly you had something that smelled like a home-cooked feast. Cheeseburger macaroni became the undisputed favorite, though lasagna, beef stroganoff, and even taco-flavored versions found their fans. The dish was practical, economical, and entirely customizable. Moms could toss in extra vegetables, sprinkle in more cheese, or even sneak in leftover meats. By 1975, 1 in 4 American households had made Hamburger Helper a weekly staple. It wasn't just food, it was a cultural icon. The mascot, a helpful white glove, appeared in commercials and print ads, guiding families toward dinner success. Children learned to mash the cheese powder into the beef, stirring with anticipation, while the house filled with the scent of sizzling beef and bubbling pasta. Though it might seem simple today, Hamburger Helper represented ingenuity in the 1970s. It transformed pantry staples into something more than sustenance. It brought families to the table, laughing over sauce-streaked bowls and arguing over who got the last crispy noodle. Every bite carried the comfort of familiarity, the pride of accomplishment, and the warmth of a shared meal. This was Hamburger Helper. Humble, nostalgic, and unforgettable, a small box that left a giant mark on American kitchens. Pot roast with carrots and onions. Sundays in the 1970s smelled like slow-cooked perfection. The centerpiece of many American homes was a hearty pot roast, simmering in a Dutch oven while families prepared for a long, leisurely dinner. Pot roast wasn't just food. It was a ritual, a way to mark the end of the week and gather everyone around the table. A 3-pound chuck roast, seared until golden brown, was the starting point. Carrots, onions, and potatoes joined in during the last hour of cooking, absorbing the rich flavors of beef and broth. Some families added a splash of red wine, others a touch of Worcestershire sauce, creating layers of flavor that filled the house with an irresistible aroma. By the time the roast had fallen fork tender, the kitchen itself seemed to hum with warmth and comfort. In 1974, a pot roast and its vegetables could feed the whole family for just a few dollars. economical, satisfying, and deeply nostalgic. Leftovers transformed into sandwiches, hash, or stew, proving that nothing went to waste. Children loved watching the roast come together, sneaking bites of carrots or dipping crusty bread into the golden gravy that collected at the bottom of the pot. Every pot roast told a story. It reflected a mother's care, a father's appreciation, and a family's rhythm. Sunday mornings spent preparing, afternoons filled with anticipation, and evenings of shared laughter over hearty servings. Church cookbooks, neighborhood recipe swaps, and family hand-me-downs kept the tradition alive. Pot roast with carrots and onions wasn't just a dish. It was the heart of the home. Each bite carried the memory of childhood Sundays, the warmth of family togetherness, and the comfort of knowing that life, at least for one meal, could slow down. It was simple, unpretentious, and timeless, a true emblem of the 1970s dinner table. Chicken a la king. Step into a 1970s dining room, where a steaming casserole emerges from the oven, creamy sauce bubbling over tender pieces of chicken. Chicken a la king was elegance disguised as comfort food, a dish that made everyday dinners feel special without demanding a gourmet chef. Its story dates back earlier, but in the 70s, it became a staple for American families looking to impress guests or treat themselves. Tender diced chicken, peas, and mushrooms were enveloped in a rich, velvety sauce made with butter, flour, and milk, sometimes spiked with a touch of sherry. Some homes layered it over toast points or nestled it inside flaky puff pastry, turning a simple dinner into a moment of indulgence. Families loved chicken a la king because it balanced practicality with sophistication. A single fryer chicken could serve 6, stretched by pantry staples like peas or mushrooms, yet the creamy sauce made it feel luxurious. Every bite carried a subtle nostalgia, the aroma filling kitchens, drawing children from homework or play, and signaling that dinner was a shared event, not a rushed chore. In the 1970s, presentation mattered. Mothers would sprinkle almonds on top, or slide the casserole into a vintage Pyrex dish, its glass edges warm from the oven. The golden, bubbly surface promised comfort and satisfaction. Church cookbooks featured countless variations, each family swearing theirs was the best. Yet, beneath the surface of cream and chicken, it represented something deeper: care, resourcefulness, and the joy of turning simple ingredients into a dish worthy of applause. Chicken a la king wasn't just a meal. It was a reminder that even in busy times, a little effort could transform dinner into an experience, creating memories that lingered long after the last bite. In homes across America, the dish embodied warmth, tradition, and the quiet pride of a family gathered around the table. Macaroni and cheese casserole. Picture a 1970s kitchen, the oven door opening to reveal a golden, bubbling casserole. Macaroni and cheese wasn't just a side dish. It was the heart of many family dinners, a comfort that filled both stomachs and hearts. This wasn't the blue box version from the grocery aisle. This was real, scratch-made macaroni and cheese, the kind that left your fingers streaked with melted cheddar. The process itself was part of the ritual. Elbow macaroni boiled until just tender, then folded into a creamy sauce crafted from butter, flour, milk, and a blend of sharp and mild cheddar. Some families added a hint of nutmeg or a splash of cream for richness. Once combined, the mixture was poured into a buttered casserole dish, topped with breadcrumbs mixed with melted butter, and baked until the edges browned and the top crackled with a satisfying crunch. For children, it was magic on a plate. The gooey cheese pulled in long strings from fork to mouth, while crispy corners became hotly contested treasures. Parents loved it because it was inexpensive, filling, and could feed a crowd with ease. It could be a main dish for a busy weeknight, or a side that complemented roast chicken, meatloaf, or pot roast during Sunday dinners. Every casserole carried stories. Some families added diced ham or sliced tomatoes. Others folded in vegetables for a hidden boost of nutrition. The dish symbolized resourcefulness, turning pantry staples into a crowd-pleasing classic. Church potlucks and neighborhood gatherings frequently featured it, each household boasting their golden bubbly creation as the ultimate comfort food. Macaroni and cheese casserole wasn't just about taste. It was about warmth, togetherness, and the satisfaction of a simple, perfectly executed recipe. For those who grew up in the 1970s, it's more than food. It's a memory of kitchens filled with laughter, shared plates, and the timeless joy of comfort on a fork. Jell-O salad with canned fruit. Step into a 1970s dining room, where tables gleamed with patterned tablecloths and the centerpiece often wobbled with color, the iconic Jell-O salad. It was a dish that blurred the line between dessert and side, a vibrant, shimmering reminder that food could be playful, festive, and entirely nostalgic. Every family had a favorite variation: lime Jell-O with canned pears, strawberry with fruit cocktail, orange with mandarin oranges, sometimes layered with marshmallows or Cool Whip, transforming the salad into a mosaic of color and texture. Children loved the jiggle, adults admired the presentation, and everyone appreciated its simplicity. One box of Jell-O cost just 23 cents in 1974, while canned fruit was similarly affordable, making it a treat that felt special without breaking the family budget. The preparation was almost ceremonial. Each layer had to set in the refrigerator before the next could be added. Copper molds shaped like rings, fish, or flowers elevated the presentation, turning a simple mixture of gelatin and fruit into a visual delight. The careful layering reflected pride and attention to detail, a quiet way for homemakers to showcase their skill while working with accessible, pantry-friendly ingredients. Jell-O salad appeared everywhere: church potlucks, holiday dinners, birthday parties, and Sunday meals. Its bright colors stood out among heavier comfort foods, offering a refreshing, light contrast that balanced the richness of roasts, casseroles, and creamy sides. For kids, it was the first taste of something fun and wiggly. For adults, it was nostalgia on a plate. Though it may have faded from modern menus, Jell-O salad remains a symbol of 1970s kitchens: inventive, practical, and full of heart. Every spoonful carried memories of shared meals, family gatherings, and the joy of simple ingredients transformed into something magical. It wasn't just a salad, it was a little celebration at Eve. Quiche Lorraine. Imagine a 1970s brunch table where a golden, custardy quiche sits front and center, surrounded by patterned plates and steaming mugs of coffee. Quiche Lorraine wasn't just breakfast or lunch, it was a statement. It announced sophistication, a touch of continental flair, yet remained comforting and approachable for the American home cook. The classic recipe combined crisp, buttery pie crust with a rich custard of eggs and heavy cream, dotted with smoky bacon and Swiss cheese. Some families added a pinch of nutmeg or a splash of milk for creaminess, while others layered the quiche with caramelized onions for extra depth. The magic lay in the contrast: the flaky, tender crust against the smooth, savory filling and the subtle crunch of brown bacon. For many households, quiche Lorraine represented a step beyond casseroles, a dish that required technique yet rewarded effort with elegance. Preparing the crust from scratch was a badge of honor. The refrigerated pie dough made it accessible to busy moms. Blind baking the crust to prevent sogginess, whisking the custard to the perfect consistency, and baking until golden brown. Each step was an exercise in care, patience, and pride. By the mid-1970s, it had become a staple for brunches, potlucks, and luncheon gatherings. Its versatility meant it could serve as a light dinner or a centerpiece for special occasions, offering flavor and style without extravagant expense. A slice of quiche Lorraine brought together taste, tradition, and a subtle sense of accomplishment for the cook. Beyond its ingredients, the dish carried nostalgia. It reminded families of leisurely mornings, shared conversations, and the quiet sophistication of home-cooked elegance. Quiche Lorraine wasn't just food. It was a bridge between practicality and indulgence, a dish that embodied the era's love for comfort with a touch of continental charm. Every golden slice, told the story of kitchens filled with care. Deviled eggs and ham steak dinner. Step into a 1970s kitchen around Easter or a weekend family dinner, where a thick ham steak sizzles on the stovetop and deviled eggs await their moment on the table. This pairing was classic Americana, simple, satisfying, and full of flavor, a reflection of both tradition and practicality. The ham steak, often pre-sliced and sold in stores, was brushed with a glaze of brown sugar and mustard, then broiled or grilled until caramelized. Its aroma filled the kitchen, mingling with the subtle tang of paprika-dusted deviled eggs. Creamy yolks whipped with mayonnaise, mustard, and a touch of pickle relish piped back into the whites in neat little mounds. Some families added bacon bits, chopped chives, or even anchovy paste for an umami twist before anyone really knew what umami meant. At $1.99 for a ham steak in 1975 and a dozen eggs at under $1, this dinner was budget-friendly yet felt indulgent. Children loved the deviled eggs, nibbling at the paprika and creamy yolk filling, while adults savored the glazed ham and the balance of sweet and savory. Side dishes like scalloped potatoes, green beans, or a crisp salad completed the meal, rounding out the flavors and textures of the table. What made this dinner special wasn't just the food, but the ritual. Preparing the ham and eggs, arranging them on vintage plates, and gathering the family around the table was a shared experience. The sizzle, the creamy bite of eggs, the sweet salty ham. Each element contributed to a sense of warmth, tradition, and togetherness. Deviled eggs and ham steak dinner was more than a meal. It was comfort, nostalgia, and a subtle celebration of Sunday evenings or holiday gatherings. Every bite reminded families that even the simplest ingredients, prepared with care, could create a memorable, heartwarming dinner. Cabbage rolls and tomato sauce. Step into a 1970s kitchen where the aroma of simmering tomato sauce and tender cabbage fills the air. Cabbage rolls were a staple of many Eastern European American homes, a dish that combined frugality, flavor, and family tradition into one hearty package. The process began with blanching cabbage leaves until pliable, then rolling them around a mixture of ground beef, rice, and onions. Each roll was carefully tucked into a pot, snugly nestled together, and smothered in rich tomato sauce. Some families added a splash of V8 juice or a bit of sauerkraut for extra tang, enhancing the natural sweetness of the cabbage and the savory richness of the filling. By 1974, with ground beef at 79 cents a pound and cabbage at 12 cents, this meal could feed an entire family for under $3. Economical, filling, and satisfying. Cooking was slow and deliberate. The rolls simmered for hours until the flavors melded and the meat and rice were tender, creating a sauce that was deeply flavorful and comforting. Children would peek in, curious about the fragrant, colorful rolls, often impatient to taste just one before dinner. Every cabbage roll carried more than flavor. It carried tradition. Recipes were passed down through generations, each family adding their own touch. A pinch of paprika here, a dash of Worcestershire there. Church cookbooks and neighborhood potlucks often featured them, cementing their place in American culinary culture. Cabbage rolls and tomato sauce weren't just food. They were a labor of love. They embodied care, patience, and the joy of sharing a homemade meal. Every bite told a story of immigrant roots, family gatherings, and kitchens filled with warmth. In the 1970s, these humble rolls were more than dinner. They were comfort, connection, and a delicious reminder of home. Stuffed green peppers. Step into a 1970s kitchen where bell peppers stood upright in a baking dish like little soldiers, waiting to be filled with a mixture of ground beef, rice, onions, and tomato sauce. Stuffed green peppers were a family favorite, Economical yet impressive. A dish that made weeknight dinners feel special without demanding hours of preparation. The peppers were first parboiled, softening them just enough to hold their shape while still providing a slight crunch. Meanwhile, the filling combined brown ground beef, cooked rice, sautéed onions, and seasonings. A simple, hearty mixture stretched to feed a crowd. Some families added corn, black beans, or even ground turkey as it became available, creating variations that reflected both taste and thrift. A sprinkling of cheese on top in the last few minutes of baking transformed the dish into a golden, bubbly masterpiece. Green peppers cost about 25 cents each in 1975, making this dish affordable for families of all sizes. The tomato sauce surrounding the peppers absorbed flavors from the filling, creating a savory gravy that could be spooned over rice or mashed potatoes. Kids either loved the tender, flavorful filling or meticulously removed it to eat separately, leaving the pepper shells as a playful challenge. The beauty of stuffed peppers was in their presentation. Upright in a casserole dish, surrounded by rich tomato sauce, they looked elegant without fuss, perfect for casual dinners or modest entertaining. Church cookbooks and neighborhood potlucks often showcased them, each family claiming their recipe as the best. Stuffed green peppers weren't just about feeding the family. They symbolized care, resourcefulness, and the joy of transforming simple ingredients into something beautiful. Each bite carried a balance of savory, sweet, and hearty textures, reminding families that comfort food could be both delicious and visually appealing. In the 1970s, this dish was more tea.